We are less than a week from the postseason, and the Panthers are fine-tuning their game. And could Jesse Puljujarvi actually play in the postseason?
Your Locked On Panthers, your daily podcast on the Florida Panthers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
And welcome into this Monday, April 14th edition of the Locked On Florida Panthers podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, where it is your team every day. Thank you for making the Locked On Florida Panthers podcast your first listen of the day. I am Armando Velez from the Hockey News. You can follow me on X and Blue Sky at Monument12. Follow the show account on X and Instagram at LO_FLA Panthers and on Blue Sky at LOFLA Panthers. You can follow the podcast anywhere you listen to podcasts and on YouTube. And if you're on the YouTube, make sure to subscribe and press that like button down below. And Florida Panther fans, grateful to be back here once again on the show to discuss everything in the world of the Florida Panthers. As by the time this episode drops, we will be 5 days from the postseason, and the Panthers getting another win on home ice. It's going similarly to the same script last year of final homestand and the Panthers just getting their game right before the big dance begins for them, and the Panthers getting a 3-2 shootout win over the Buffalo Sabres. Sabres were also one of the opponents that the Panthers faced in their final homestand last year and got a win over them. And Paul Maurice discussing how it wasn't the prettiest of wins, but he liked the professionalism of the group there. And it was for the Panthers controlling play at times, getting their cycle chances for them. And it was a case of the Panthers implementing fear against Buffalo Sabres. And, even after one missed assignment at the end of the first period where Gustav Forsling allowed Rasmus Dahlin to go up the gut, and then on the return feed, he got the goal past Vitek Vanacek. The Panthers really never panicked after that, and we saw the physicality really crank up. Jesse Puljujarvi getting 5 hits in the first period and then 9 total throughout the game. I mean, almost set a single game record for hits in a game, just 3 away from Radko Gudas, who had 12 in a game once for him. And then Jonah Gadjevich with a clean open ice hit against Yuri Kulich, and then Alex Tuck trying to drop the gloves with Jonah Gadjevich later on and then paying the price there. And to think that, and I'm with Paul Maurice here, where it's a clean open ice hit. He keeps his head down, and then a scrum ensues there. And even though it was called a major to discuss and to review it, there's no roughing penalties for that open ice hit for the Sabres, and no penalty called there. So why was there no roughing called there? So, and then again later on in the game where Uvis Belinskis lays a hit on Rasmus Dahlin, where he tried breaking out the puck, and unfortunately for the Panthers, resulting in 2 penalties where AJ Greer tries taking on Tage Thompson and Zach Benson there. And I know Mackie Semiskevich didn't get the call on the high stick from Bowen Byram, who he went after him as he was approaching the bench there. But in that situation where AJ Greer was already going to the box, and Mackie obviously hot for going down on the ice on the power play, that is a situation for Mackie Semiskevich where you want to maybe learn a little bit from this experience, where obviously we need to keep referees also accountable for missing the calls, but the only time you really get an unsportsmanlike conduct in that situation if you really go down the personal route there for him. So that's a little bit of a lesson learned from Mackie Semiskevich, which ultimately resulted in a power play goal 5-on-3 for the Buffalo Sabres there to tie the game for them at two with just 7 minutes to go in the period. But honestly, the fact that with the 5-on-3, which Buffalo not only scored on Saturday against the Panthers, but they also scored a 5-on-3 goal on Sunday against the Tampa Bay Lightning. And for the Panthers, the 5-on-3, the Buffalo Sabres didn't really give themselves a chance for a lot of high danger scoring when it came to that 5-on-3, except at the very end for them. And for the Panthers here, the 2 goal scorers for them, Carter Hagee, although he got a maintenance day against the Detroit Red Wings, comes back into the lineup. His goal on Tuesday against Toronto, an empty net goal for him, but him getting a goal, getting closer to 20, and also getting it as we are approaching the playoffs, and him getting his confidence back up after the type of goal that he scored, being at the right place, right time. Connor Clifton overskating on the play, and then him trying to pull Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen out of the goal, and then just easily getting that in. I mean, this is a goal for Carter Hagee that's coming at the right moment, right before the games really start to count for the Panthers here. And then Jesse Puljujarvi getting that his first goal as a Panther. It was and the thing that the two goals for the Panthers here had in common was low to high plays, and then the defenseman at the blue line getting the puck to the net. The first one from Seth Jones obviously missed, and then Carter Hagee converted, and then Uvis Balinskis with Jesse Puljujarvi with Rasmus Dahlin grabbing his arm and then just getting one hand on the stick to get it past UPL there. And we spoke about it on Thursday, where the 4 goals that the Panthers scored were 4 different types of goals that they scored, but for the Panthers on Saturday, it was the same script for them on that low to high play. And although in the overtime period, the overtime period was a period that you want to see happen over and over again in the entirety of the NHL, where it's just trading chances back and forth. And I thought that the Panthers were really laser focused for them when there was this one shift where Rasmus Dahlin was trying to gain the zone, and then Nico Mikkola just kept up with him, giving them no space in order for him to get a shot, and zero space for a shooting lane. And then on the other end, earlier in that overtime, Anton Lundell with a close on Tage Thompson, with Vitek Vanacek being up in his crease and the crease open, Anton Lundell just making a stop there and preventing a quality scoring chance. And Vitek Vanacek, especially in the beginning of this one on Saturday, was preventing the Buffalo Sabres from scoring earlier. Although they, like I said, they did score at the end of the first period. The Vitek Vanacek really prevented this game from getting out of hand early. And we spoke about the breakaway stop that Bobrovsky had on Thursday that helped the Panthers get to that next period, kind of not chasing the game and playing to their structure. The Panthers certainly did that, and it really helped them going into the next period for them, even though they did go to the next period down. And to think that going into the shootout for them, no Alexander Barkov, no Sam Reinhart, and it was no problem for the Panthers there. You send out Anton Lundell, and he makes the same move as Alexander Barkov, starts slowly on the outside, creeps back in, and then beats UPL on the far side there. And then Vitek Vanacek making the stops for him there to shut the door, and then the Panthers winning in that shootout 1-0. If you follow the show account on X, Blue Sky, and Instagram, I did lay a scenario that the Panthers could have still owned the tiebreaker over the Tampa Bay Lightning if they won all their games in regulation, and one of Tampa Bay's last 3 games were one of them being a shootout and then one of them being a regulation win, and then their loss coming to Florida, that they could still own the third tiebreaker. But because of the fact that the Florida Panthers did not win in regulation, unfortunately, the Panthers cannot own a tiebreaker over the Tampa Bay Lightning. But with the Ottawa Senators failing to win in regulation against the Philadelphia Flyers on Sunday afternoon, the Panthers guarantee themselves a top 3 spot in the Atlantic Division. So now the possibility of the Panthers facing it's either Toronto or Tampa Bay for sure in round 1. And the Toronto Maple Leafs are 1 point away from clinching the division. And the situation for the Florida Panthers and the Tampa Bay Lightning is that the Tampa Bay Lightning need 2 points to officially clinch home ice advantage in round 1 for them. So there's still so much to play for the Florida Panthers here, getting a big win over the Sabres. Like I said, unfortunately, it didn't come in regulation, so that changes a lot of other things for the Panthers on what they have to do the rest of the way. But still, getting that win for them with so many guys out is just continues to show the amount of character that the Panthers have on their roster. But in segment number 2, we are going to discuss the signing of Jack Devine to his entry level contract. We are also going to discuss, can Jesse Puljujarvi actually make the postseason roster for the Florida Panthers? We are going to discuss that and more next here on the Locked On Florida Panthers podcast. Today's episode is brought to you by Upwork. And scaling your business requires the right expertise at the right time. With Upwork, you can find specialized freelancers in marketing, development, design, and more. Experts ready to help you take your business to the next level. Upwork gives businesses flexibility by connecting them with top freelance talent across multiple industries, including IT, AI, web development, and marketing. Whether you need extra hands for a project or a long-term partner, Upwork makes hiring simple and affordable. If you need help with a marketing campaign, Upwork can connect you with a freelance expert who delivers incredible results. Posting a job is free and simple, and within a day, with multiple qualified candidates to choose from. Instead of hiring full-time, Upwork helps find affordable top-tier freelancers to scale your business efficiently. Visit upwork.com right now and post your job for free. That's upwork.com. Upwork.com to connect with top talent and grow your business today. Segment number 2 here on this Monday, April 14th edition of the Locked On Florida Panthers podcast. Thank you once again for making the Locked On Florida Panthers podcast your first listen of the day here on a Monday. And man, Sunday was just such a great sports day of just so many things to watch. Like I say, March, April, and October are the 3 best sports months of the year, with so much of the sports equinox going on today. I was triple screening some games with the Marlins, the Masters Championship. I was doing Senators versus Flyers, and then later on having the Sabres Lightning game along with Leafs Hurricanes there. And also, right before recording this, just wrapped up watching the Calgary San Jose game, which Calgary's still alive for the postseason. Columbus is still alive for the postseason as well. So there's still a lot of races coming down the line here. One thing I was afraid of was just the fact that every series could have been locked in prior to even these next few games coming up for them, which the NHL, their regular season ends on Thursday, and to think that all of the matchups would have been solidified by Monday, I don't know if that would have bode well for Gary Bettman in the commissioner's office there for him. But some news for the Florida Panthers this weekend, as we discussed this on Friday's show after Denver was eliminated in the Frozen Four in double overtime against Western Michigan. Could Jack Devine sign his entry level deal with the Florida Panthers? And there was a little bit of a worry come last year when the Denver Pioneers won the national championship, where they repeated, and Jack Devine decided to go back for his senior season with the Denver Pioneers there. And it ended up being that he signed his deal with the Panthers. And originally, we knew that he signed his deal thanks to Alex Baumgartner of the 5 Reasons Sports Network, where he checked AHL transactions, and the transaction said Jack Devine has been added to the Charlotte Checkers roster, but there wasn't an announcement of a certain signing. So we were still left for a good 30 to 45 minutes on finding out what kind of signing it actually was. So when Jack Devine signed his entry level deal, and then it was eventually announced by the Panthers, it is that the fact that his deal starts next year, and it's a 3-year deal for Jack Devine, and led the NCAA in points, was a top 10 finalist for the Hobey Baker for 2 years in a row, and the fact that it's another right-handed shot in the system for the Panthers here, and the speed, the agility, the playmaking prowess that he's developed, especially in his senior season. This is a prospect that I'm very excited about, and he's going to get some seasoning down in Charlotte for the rest of this season and even next season. I'm not expecting for him to just fast track to the NHL right away for them. He's going to get a chance in training camp, but with how loaded the Panthers are, it's best if he does get at least one full season in the AHL right before he makes the jump to the big squad for the Panthers. And it's the fact that he's not burning a year this year and that Mackey is already gonna be signing his deal as an RFA, his next deal, which was likely going to be a bridge deal for the Panthers. For me personally, I really hope that it's an 8-year deal to so that we he can outplay it, just like what we could see out of Anton Lundell currently for his deal. But I do believe that the Panthers do need the cap space and that they are going to go the bridge option for Mackey. But let's not forget that Mackey joined the Panthers last year, just not last year, the year before, where he did burn a year, and that it brought him closer to RFA status for him, which we'll see this summer as what kind of deal Mackey will actually get for him. Speaking of the Checkers, because that's who Jack Devine is going to be joining in the next few days. The Checkers did defeat the Utica Comets today by a final score of 6-3. Cooper Black was between the pipes, and the Checkers' magic number to clinch a top 2 spot in the Atlantic Division is 4. So they one step closer to a first round bye, with the Wilkes-Barre Scranton Penguins getting a win today for them as well, and still a lot to play for the Checkers there, and thankfully Jordy Kinnear and our friend play-by-play voice of the Checkers, TJ Schlott, is going to get an opportunity to see him every day over there in Charlotte for them. And speaking of going back to school, the Tampa Bay Lightning are kind of going through a situation right now where Isaac Howard, the guy who actually won the Hobie Baker, he's going back for his senior season. He said, I thought that we were on the same page with getting a contract done. So he's going back to Michigan State this year. And speaking of Tampa Bay as well, we spoke about the SWOT analysis last year for the third line possibly being a push between these two teams. Now Oliver Bjorkstrand is week to week for the Tampa Bay Lightning. So that could possibly be an advantage for the Panthers as far as health, and hopefully it actually manifests for them as far as the actual battle on the ice. And they're hopefully for the Panthers, health battle is there, and also the actual battle. But there is a chance, based on his play recently, that Jesse Puljujarvi could be part of the Panthers' fourth line come this postseason. And when we spoke about projecting the lines for the Panthers for the playoffs, my fourth line was AJ Greer, Nico Sturm, and Evan Rodriguez. Thinking that Jesper Bokus was going to be a scratch, and thinking that you could rotate them in and out based on how heavy of a game you need to play. In the case you'll need that against the Tampa Bay Lightning, you won't get a lot of speed through that team for them. But the fact with Jesse Puljujarvi, he brings such an offensive upside that is valuable for this team. Just in 3 games alone for Jesse Puljujarvi, 1 goal, 11 shots, which is averaging over 3 a game, 23 hits starting off with the Panthers. And he's been an analytics darling throughout his first few years of being in the NHL, which JFresh Hockey, which is an analytics page, has Jesse Puljujarvi as their Avi because he's just been a darling, but it hasn't manifested in actual goals. And to think that for Jesse, the chance to prove himself, a last chance basically. A lot of people thought that he was going to go back to Finland right before. And again, it's another right-handed shot for the forwards for the Panthers here. And the fact that he has the chance to these last 2 games to also be implemented in the lineup and also show more and to prove himself to be here. I think it's such another great opportunity for him, and just the boom factor for the Panthers here, which we've seen over and over again of that's what you need. The and the thing is, Jesse Puljujarvi also has a long reach. We haven't seen a situation where he's been beaten off the puck and fallen behind, where he's reaching for a hook or hold or a trip or any of that stuff, and we haven't seen that out of Jesse for him. And just looking up and down the lineup, assuming that Sam Bennett is going to be back, which Paul Maurice recently said that although he was originally ruled out for the remainder of the postseason, the regular season, excuse me, he also said on Saturday that he could be playing in one of the back to backs coming this week, and also the same thing with Dmitry Kulikov as well. Matthew Tkachuk could be a full participant with the team come next week. So it's getting there for the Panthers of just almost being at full strength. And the fact that there's with the fact that every single line for the Panthers has multiple guys who could play defense, guys who could chip in offensively. Brad Marchand on the third line is the guy with the highest ceiling on that third line with Lundell and Luosterainen. Jesse Puljujarvi is that guy. Matthew Tkachuk is in that front presence on that second line. Mackie Samoskevich has just developed and he's not getting beat off the puck. Carter Verhaeghe, his time, which is the postseason, is coming for him, and we've seen how clutch he's been. Barkov and Reinhart, the pair that's peanut butter and jelly for them. It's and listen, Evan Rodriguez on most teams that are not contenders would be a middle six winger, or even in the case of like a Chicago Blackhawks, he would be the top line winger for them. And he's going to be playing more than likely on your fourth line to start the postseason, assuming that everyone's healthy. So there's just so much buy-in. Jesse Puljujarvi, knowing that this is a Stanley Cup champion team that he's coming to, so the opportunity to prove himself is grand for him. Same thing with Jacob Megna on the defense pairs for the Panthers. Although that play with Rasmus Dahlin coming up the gut, I would put that more on Forsling, but that was basically the only blip that I've seen out of Megna. He's not getting beat off the boards for him neither, and that's really what the Panthers are consistently doing throughout this last week of just, and also they're getting the finishes. Thankfully, they are getting the finishes. So that's also the good news of what's going on with the Panthers. On just, we're not here wondering and ranting about why they're not able to finish, and then things breaking at the wrong time for them. So hopefully for the Panthers, this is an opportunity, because this it's not going to be an easy series. It's going to be a war. It's likely going to be a battle of Florida, which the Toronto Maple Leafs just need 1 point in order to solidify the Battle of Florida, and also the Battle of Ontario. What a playoffs this is going to be all around. And the first round is the most exciting of them. And a lot of people complain about seeing the same teams, but the fact that the Panthers and the Lightning are seeing each other 4 times out of the last 5 years, only one of them coming in the second round. But still, this is great for the growth of the sport in this state. And the fact that you have 2 world-class goaltenders coming into this playoff series, that is another thing to be excited for. Goals above expected. I wanted to discuss something of this. The last 20 games for goaltenders, Vasilevsky is number 1, but guess who's who's not too far behind him at number 5? Sergei Bobrovsky is there. So this is going to be another battle of just low-scoring games. And I mentioned this on the SWOT analysis, that the fact that the Lightning do have some inexperienced blue liners coming into the mix for them in the postseason, the fact that the Panthers are getting strong at forward, and Jesse Puljujarvi could be a part of that. This could be fun for the Panthers, but it's not going to be easy. But we'll see how the Panthers fare as far as that. Again, not official, but I'm mentally preparing for quite the fun series that we could see come next week for them. But in segment number 3, we are going to preview tonight's game between the Florida Panthers and the New York Rangers as they welcome the Rangers to town in their third and final matchup of the season. We are going to break that down more on today's edition of the Locked On Florida Panthers podcast. Today's episode is brought to you by wonderful Pistachios. And looking for a snack that's both delicious and nutritious? Crack into the good source of protein with Wonderful Pistachios. Wonderful Pistachios is one of the highest protein nuts. Each 1 ounce serving has 6 grams of protein, giving you 10% of your daily value. Plus, they're packed with fiber and better for you unsaturated fats to help you keep fuller longer. Personally, I love the no-shells variety. It's the perfect grab-and-go snack for busy days, whether I'm snacking at my desk, a road trip, or just need a quick protein boost. They're always my go-to. If you love cracking open every shell for that satisfying crunch, the in-shell options are a classic favorite. Get snacking and cracking with the snack that packs a protein punch. Visit wonderfulpistachios.com to learn more. Third and final segment here on this Monday, April 14th edition of the Locked On Florida Panthers podcast. Thank you once again for making the Locked On Florida Panthers podcast your first listen of the day. And congratulations, I forgot to mention this. Congratulations to Western Michigan on winning their first national championship in school history, the first national championship in anything since the mid-60s. And their national championship that came for their school was in cross country in both 64 and 65. So that school has been deprived of championship success at the D1 level. So, and also the next 3 Frozen Fours are set. So the next open available spot is 2029. So who's to say that the Florida Panthers can't be a host for the Frozen Four? We've seen Tampa host it after they've been in multiple conference finals and even winning the Stanley Cup. Why not Sunrise? NCAA, if you're listening, bring the Frozen Four to Sunrise. I want to see what that barn could look like with a college hockey tournament for them. So just wanted to put that out publicly for you guys. But the Panthers and the New York Rangers play tonight from Amerant Bank Arena at 7 p.m. And the New York Rangers are already eliminated from playoff contention. Only the 4th time in NHL history that a team that has won the President's Trophy the year before have missed the postseason. The Rangers, this is the 2nd time it's happened for them. They missed the playoffs in 1993 after winning the President's Trophy in 1992, and then won the Stanley Cup the very next year. But this season for New York has been weird, and it's been hindsight 2020, but it was over from the start with what GM Chris Drury, how he's conducted himself with placing Barclay Goodrow on waivers, the Jacob Trouba situation, the memo that was sent out that had him and Chris Kreider available for trade, and then thinking that wasn't going to come out, and then a damage control meeting to get the team together for them. And then one of their top prospects that they recently signed in Gabriel Perreault recently saw him play in the World Juniors, was eliminated in the NCAA tournament right out of the first weekend. And then he plays and then gets scratched. When basically your season's over, this is the time to get some fresh legs into the mix and see how the guy fits into your lineup. So a questionable lineup decision by Peter Laviolette there for them. And just the culture over there is just off. And it's another Dolan masterpiece where things go right in the first few years, things go in a certain direction, and then chances are a coach is going to be fired without having at least 3 or 4 years under their belt, which I wouldn't be surprised if Peter Laviolette is let go after this season. And then more drama has ensued even today with Calvin DeHaan, who has been scratched for the last 18 games for the Rangers, walking past the media and talking publicly about how he's being treated there. He spoke about the fact that the Rangers went 2-0-1 in games that he's played in that, and then now he's been scratched the last 18 games for him. I know Calvin DeHaan is a veteran. He's on the older side, but still, The fact that he's putting out the dirty laundry out there, and then that coming out publicly, whew, lots of drama coming out of that organization too. It doesn't seem that that's a workplace that's just overall healthy for them. And just the lack of accountability for certain stars. I mean, Mika Zibanejad, I mentioned this earlier. Uh, he's not the most defensively sound player, but it's been just the amount of countless turnovers in their own end, and then it resulting in just high danger chances at their own net. There's been a rotation of scratches over and over again, and Mika Zibanejad has not been one of those guys. He's played 80 games, and there's 2 left for the Rangers here. He hasn't been scratched once. Alexis Lafreniere, the talk last year was that he's arrived, almost 30 goals last season, was at a star in the Eastern Conference Final Series against the Panthers, and he only has 3 goals since March 1st, and now he's on the third line for them. And the issues for the Rangers remain the same. Pinned in their own end, they get the puck separated out of there, breakout passes get intercepted, and then Igor Shesterkin and Jonathan Quick are under siege. And the thing is, when you have a hot power play and a hot goaltender, things get masked a lot. And then the mask officially for the New York Rangers came off for them. So that regression puts all of their issues on full display for them. And the trade of JT Miller doesn't make sense for them. Getting other guys into the mix who are under term only makes their cap issues only harder as now Igor Shesterkin's contract now kicks in next season, and it's going to be hard to build a winning team around that. Where I know Artemi Panarin fell into their lap when he was a free agent, and they tried a little bit of a rebuild route, but then once they signed him, it was rebuilds over, and now it's falling flat on their face for them. And it's to the point where you wonder if that team has quit on their coach and on their organization, which it's one that you wouldn't not. I said Peter Laviolette is probably going to get let go. I wouldn't be surprised if Drury is also let go for the Rangers, which this is a situation for the Panthers where they should feast. I don't know who's going to be resting for the Panthers this time around. It's going to be probably another rotation of guys who are going to be out. I do think that Sergei Bobrovsky should start, and then Vitek Vanacek. Even if you have a situation where you have an opportunity to separate yourself 2 points in front of the Tampa Bay Lightning right before they take on the Rangers on Thursday, I just think you should not put him in a back-to-back, either goaltender in a back-to-back. One of these games for Bobrovsky should be his last of the regular season. And then let's look at the big picture here for the Panthers here. Obviously, like Paul Maurice said, you want every advantage that you can. And the goal should be health for the Panthers. And let's hope that the Panthers come out of this game unscathed, and also more importantly, the 2 points, so that they could go into a situation where Tuesday night's game is actually meaningful for them. If they lose in regulation, then Tuesday's game will be absolutely meaningless for the Panthers here. If they lose in overtime, then they would need a regulation win in Tampa Bay to at least have a chance for them. So they could actually win in overtime on Monday, but they would have to win in regulation on Tuesday in order for the pressure to really be on Tampa Bay on Thursday night for them to win in any fashion for them. If a situation is they win these next 2 and the Bolts lose in any fashion against New York on Thursday, then the Panthers will jump them. So they're still the fact that they were in this position after going a whole more than a month, almost a month, with not getting a regulation win. It's the Panthers are turning it on at the right time, and it starts on Monday against the New York Rangers. So we'll see how much fight the New York Rangers do actually have in them right before the Panthers turn the page and make that quick trip up to Tampa Bay, where We saw it in 2021 where they ended the regular season against Tampa and then went right into a playoff series against the Bolts, and it's going to be the same thing again. It's likely going to be the same thing again. So Panther fans are going to get tired of the Lightning. Lightning fans are going to get tired of the Panthers, and it's great for the rivalry, and I really can't wait for it. So exciting times are coming for the Stanley Cup playoffs for South Florida. But that's going to do it for today's edition of the Locked On Florida Panthers podcast. Thank you once again for making the Locked On Florida Panthers podcast your first listen of the day. On tomorrow's edition of the show, we are going to break down the Panthers and Rangers game going into Tuesday and then preview Tuesday night's game against the Tampa Bay Lightning. And hopefully, once again, that one is a meaningful one. But in the meantime, if you like what you're hearing, please subscribe to the podcast to be notified every single time the Locked On Florida Panthers podcast jumps into your podcast feed. Don't forget to also subscribe to the other shows on the Locked On NHL network, including Locked On NHL, Locked On Fantasy Hockey, Flip Livingstone, and Stu Roden, Locked On NHL Prospects with Sebastian High, and also the new Locked On NHL Game Night, where every single day, Sunday through Saturday, they will be breaking down every single game from across the NHL. So make sure to tune in to everything across the Locked On NHL network. So I'm Armando Velez, signing off. And you've been listening to Locked On Florida Panthers podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, where it's your team every day.